Hey everybody, it's Sean.
And Cinda.
And welcome back to another edition of the Founding Fathers Birthday Celebration here on whatever channel this is in the Cockeyed Optimist Network.
Today is Ben Franklin's birthday.
Woo! His 320th birthday, I should add. Well, as we did last weekend with Alexander Hamilton, we are going to take some time to commemorate who I would actually call the founding grandfather of America.
I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
He's not just a father,
No.
he's like the grandpa of America.
Exactly.
Which, interestingly enough, on this image right here is the signing of the Treaty of Paris, and we have Ben Franklin here.
Dead center.
Dead in the middle. But this is actually his grandson, who was his secretary that he took to France with him. And let's see, at this age, well, I don't know exactly his age would be here. It's a wig. But he was 16 when he took him to France. So, Grandpa Franklin, it is.
Wow, okay. I learned something already today. I learned something in our effort to educate you on these people that helped build this nation of ours. Just a quick little aside before we get into it. Since we shared some band updates last time, let's share one cool band update right now. We've pretty much finished tracking guitars.
Yeah, I think we have just a little bit of acoustic
to do. It's mostly like little
And Sean
tasting.
wanted to do a overdub of a fuzz track on one particular song, just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the extra fuzz. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we gotta do that. But other than that, everything. Principal guitars.
Yeah, principal guitars are done. Pickup guitars will be done some other time.
Probably today or tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's going well. We figured, hey, we updated you guys a little bit on the band last time we did this. Might as well, if there's any band updates, share them in this forum, because posting on social media is hard.
And it takes a lot of time.
It takes way more time than it should. So with that out of the way, we of course got the guitars done, and now we need to talk about a guy who pretty much probably helped us be able to start recording guitars at home had he not taken such an interest in everything, Benjamin Franklin. So as we mentioned, today, January 17th, is his birthday, 1706. He was the 8th of 10 children to his father Josiah and Josiah's wife and child. That was Josiah's second wife. Ben was the, I believe, 10th overall of 17 children sired by Josiah Franklin. And I think one of the things I love most in what I've learned about Ben Franklin is that his beginnings in life were very, very meager. His father was a tradesman, working with beef tallow, making candles and soap. So he was not a man of any consequence or significance. He was just a common guy who worked with his hands.
Back to the American dream.
Ben Franklin as being one of the sort of fathers of the printing press, as well as newspapers, et al. Of printed material. So if you enjoy physical media, getting your news from newspapers, or even just hard or paperback cover books, you owe Benjamin Franklin a debt of gratitude. So thank you for this library, Benjamin.
Thank you.
But I really enjoyed seeing, like, his dad was a humble trade. Nothing like, for as gargantuan of a shadow as Franklin casts over the founding of the United States of America, his origins, very simple, very humble, and it's really amazing how the American dream was there all those years ago.
250 years ago, but plus, the American dream, it still exists now, and it was there from its foundation.
Yep, pretty much. Another interesting little tidbit about Ben Franklin that a lot of people probably will be surprised about, is that he pretty much ended his formal education by the time he was 10 years old. His father could not really send him to school for very long. Some of the sources that I was looking into say that he may have only had about 2 years of formal education. So any other smarts that Ben Franklin had pretty much came because he was just morbidly curious about everything. Formal education, as we see it in the modern day American lens, most of them did not have it. And if they did have it, they had very little of it. But really what made them so intelligent and so smart and so good at what they did was that they just wanted it. They wanted to learn. Yeah, they wanted it.
They didn't think that learning ends with ending schooling.
Exactly.
Learning was a lifelong desire.
Yeah. Everybody kind of associates Ben Franklin as being the printing press guy, I feel. Like
and
that's
the
how
electric key
and the
guy.
electric key guy. We all know about the fabled experiment of capturing lightning in a bottle, such as it is, with the kite and the key. His interests were wide-ranging. Among other things, besides his printing endeavors, his firefighting endeavors, he was a diplomat in many different aspects, both pre, during, and post-Revolutionary War. He was an avid chess player, and to connect it all back to us, he was indeed a musician. According to Wikipedia, he played the harp, he played the violin, and was even known to have played guitar, and even helped improve the design of an instrument known as the glass harmonica, which was indeed composed for by people like Beethoven and Mozart. So to say
fixing up instruments, I can see that.
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense.
To say that Ben Franklin had his hands in a lot of different pots would almost be an understatement, and yet it all connects right back to us with the music, which is pretty cool. But there's obviously, we need to talk about him being the grandfather of America, and it really begins with his printing, in that he was amongst the first people to start printing en masse and distributing revolutionary ideas. Many of you probably know the Join or Die cartoon, which eventually became a flag symbol of the snake separated into multiple pieces and under which it says Join or Die. He was the first person to print that and distribute it across the American colonies, calling for a unification of the territories to combat the British despotism, I suppose I'll say, because there's an interesting little bit of history that goes untalked about and that Cinda recently discovered in one of her readings. So why don't you tell us about Ben Franklin and Canada?
Well, Canada may or may not become the 51st state, but did you know it was supposed to be the 14th state? Yes, part of Canada, Quebec, was supposed to be the 14th state, vis-a-vis Mr. Franklin.
Now, where did we get this from? I want people to know about this book series.
This book is The Clash of Two Americas, Volume 1. And in the Unfinished Symphony, this book is by Matthew Ehret. He talks about how Franklin went to Canada on several occasions trying to get them to join the revolutionary cause. And it obviously, you can have single people trying to go somewhere and actually, meet at a coffee shop or something to induce a revolutionary spirit. But to the point as the Continental Congress, as a group, wrote a letter to the inhabitants of Quebec on October 26, 1774. And this is a excerpt from that letter. From the Continental Congress of the United States to the Quebecois. All right, here we go. We only invite you to consult your own glory and welfare, and not to suffer yourself to be inveigled or intimidated by infamous ministers so far as to become the instruments of their cruelty and despotism, but to unite with us in one social compact, formed on the generous principles of equal liberty and cemented by such an exchange of beneficial and endearing offices as to render it perpetual. in order to complete this highly desirable union, we submit to your consideration whether it may not be expedient for you to meet together in your several towns and districts and elect deputies who afterwards, meeting in a provincial congress, may choose delegates to represent your province in the Continental Congress to be held at Philadelphia on the 10th of May, 1775.
Man. You know what I love about that excerpt? And by the way, this book cites sources. So if any of you think that this isn't real for some reason because it hasn't been taught in mainstream education, this guy has done his research, and you can find the research. How simply worded that is. We want you to talk about it amongst yourselves, and we want you to elect people to come and be a part of this.
Yeah, and that's a very formal letter, like, hey, this is when the Continental Congress is, this is the date, we invite you to be a part of it.
In simpler terms, why didn't Quebec join up with the colonies and become the 14th?
Well, one reason, actually, I think something we need to address, and just moving forward, is that everything is not determined just by one singular item and event, but there always are contributing multiplicity of factors. So, with that in mind, am I saying this is the one reason? Absolutely not. But a reason, Bishop Jean-Olivier Briand, he was the bishop in Quebec, and basically said anyone who wants to join Washington's rebellion would be excommunicated from the church and burn in hellfire for eternity.
Which church was this, by the way?
He was a Jesuit.
He was a Jesuit. Ah, the conspiratorial linked wing of the Catholic Church.
Yes. So, using the fear of church excommunication and
eternal damnation.
The people were like, oh, I'm not joining Washington's rebellion. I'm going to burn in hell for it.
The thing that I find so unique about the idea of Quebec being the 14th colony, state. The French were, during the Revolutionary War,
on our side.
Our largest military ally, sending fleets, soldiers, high-ranking military officials to fight for the revolutionary cause. The relationship between the Founding Fathers and the courts at Versailles was quite close.
And I love the imagery of Ben Franklin in his coonskin cap, charming the French intelligentsia with his provincial American ways. But I love it because he's essentially saying, oh, I can play a part too.
Yeah.
You want me to be playing a role? I'll play the role of the American. Fine. If that gets you on my side, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But just one more quick thing on Canada. We'll have to put a map of the 1774 Quebec Act. You can see what all land was considered part of Quebec at that time, and it includes Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, some of Michigan, some of Wisconsin. I can't tell if a little bit of Minnesota. It's kind of tricky to overlay, and I haven't seen any that overlay it, the exact boundaries, and there's some debate of where the side boundary is. But that's basically, what did I name? 5 states that did become American states that were part of, I'll just call it at that point, Greater Quebec. But that was what Quebec was considered. Wow. So it's not far-fetched at all that they would join the revolutionary cause.
Yeah.
Quebec at that time
was really big.
2 years before we declared independence from Britain was very large.
Yeah.
And Franklin went there multiple times trying to get them to join or die.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Makes you think.
Well, in the interest, although we could go on for a very long time about Benjamin Franklin, considering the amount of things that he did, I do want to close with some very brief things. The first of which being a nice little anecdote. Ben Franklin was known for his anecdotes, and there's one in particular that I like. Cinda, would you read the one that I am referencing?
They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Interesting to think how only a few years ago we were willing to give up so much for a temporary safety.
Temporary and safety.
Yes. And I actually want to take this opportunity to end on pointing to Franklin's 13 virtues, a list of things that he felt helped to build and cultivate character. And although I would say Ben Franklin was probably a character in and of himself, when I look at the list of the 13 virtues, I am inclined to think that for a man who essentially renounced, although he considered himself a Christian, he also just was more of a deist. So rejecting that religiously based morality, he indeed was quite inspired by it. And I think the 13 virtues kind of speak for themselves. Number 1, temperance. Eat not to dullness, drink not to elevation. No drunkenness. No, gluttony. That's the one I'm looking for. Silence. Speak but what may benefit others or yourself. Avoid trifling conversation, like much of social media.
Indeed.
Order. Let all your things have their places. Let each part of your business have its time. To everything there is a season. Turn. Resolution. Resolve to perform what you ought. Perform without fail what you resolve. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Frugality. Make no expense but to do good to others or yourself, i.e. waste nothing. Pretty self-explanatory.
Actually, that was
there.
one of his pen names. Doer good or
Silence do good.
Do good. Yes,
Silence
yes.
do good. Industry. Lose no time. Be always employed in something useful. Cut off all unnecessary actions. Very nice. Kind of like if your left hand is offending you, cut it off. Interesting idea there. Sincerity. Use no hurtful deceit. Think innocently and justly. And if you speak accordingly. Justice. Wrong none by doing injuries or omitting the benefits that are your duty. Moderation. Avoid extremes. Forbear resenting injuries so much as you think they deserve. Cleanliness. Tolerate no uncleanliness in body, in clothes, or in habitation. Tranquility.
Oh, hold on.
What?
Franklin, he liked to take saunas. Just so you know.
Interesting. Detox.
Detoxing the body.
Detox it all. Tranquility. Be not disturbed at trifles, or at accidents common or unavoidable. Don't sweat the small stuff. Chastity. Rarely use venery but for health or offspring. Venery would be your sexuality, for those of you who don't know the term. Never to dullness, weakness, or the injury of your own or another's peace or reputation. Really makes one think that maybe chastity isn't just about being a prude or being abstinent. It may just be about having a healthy sense of what all that stuff is really all about. But finally, the last one, the 13th virtue, humility, which is summed up very simply. Imitate Jesus and Socrates.
Jesus and Socrates.
That's oh man, talk about, I'm sorry, flashbacks to Billy the Kid and Socrates from Bill and Ted, but I kind of would love to see Jesus and
Jesus and Socrates.
It's Jesus and Socrates. This is crazy. So that was Benjamin Franklin, the founding grandfather of the United States of America, a Renaissance man if there ever was one, a true character, and a man whose legacy looms large over the United States, but for good reason.
Happy birthday, Ben Franklin, and imitate Jesus and Socrates.
Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.